All right, so to end the meeting, you guys, I want to talk to you in observance of President's Day. Yesterday, I was thinking, should I call John and ask him if we should cancel the meeting because yesterday was a holiday and on the freeway there was no traffic on the way over here in the morning. I'm like, man, that's a lot of people that didn't work. So, but then I thought, you know what? No, our business is a little slow right now. We need to put in double the work. So I decided to call the meeting how the presidents did it. And I'm going to share 5 pitfalls to avoid and 5 things to do and implement so that you can have success. So the first thing, one of the biggest pitfalls that politicians had and presidents had was they lacked humility. And I love, I think I live by 2 quotes. It's this one from John Templeton. It's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice. And then the other one that I like is Zig Ziglar's, you can have anything you want out of life so long as you help enough other people get what they want, right? And those to me are like my number 1 and 2 top ways to live by. But yeah, so you got to be humble. Sometimes you might need to put in the work yourself. John, I think that's kind of humble that he still goes out and passes out stuff in his farm. I mean, he could very well hire somebody and be like, oh, I'm better than that. But he doesn't, he remains humble and he goes out there and he puts in the work. And of course he gets some exercise out of it and some good vitamin D and whatnot, but he really doesn't have to. I mean, he could really easily pay somebody to do that. So be humble. There's things that you're going to have to do that you might not really agree with. I remember like putting out my own open house signs and getting all sweaty before an open house. And then I hired Mark to help me. And it's funny, even after I hired him, I still had to do half the work, because I'm like showing him how to do it. So I still got all sweaty. So anyways, all right. The other thing that presidents did is they would avoid conflict. And if you live avoiding conflict, you're not really going to succeed. I'll give you a good example. We just put up a booth at the mall, right? At the Cerritos Mall. And putting that booth up, there's other companies that are going, oh my gosh, how come they have a booth and we don't, right? And that's going to create conflict. And then maybe they might want to put up a booth as well. But if you don't put that booth up, you might not be able to take up those opportunities, right? The other thing, I think I've shared with you before, the first time I ever double-ended a deal, I put 4 signs on every corner leading to my open house, right? And I got 2 blocked phone calls with voicemails saying, hey, why aren't you like all the other agents here? Just put 1 sign at every corner. You're making our neighborhood look like a swap meet. Well, if I would have done that, I wouldn't have made $80,000 that weekend, right? So if I would have, to avoid conflict, I would have just put 1 sign out on each corner and been like everybody else. But that's not what I wanted. I've always said to you guys, when you do an open house, you should have 2 goals and hit one of them. Either the city comes and picks up all your signs, or you have 100 people come through your open house. That should be the goal. If none of the 2 happened, you didn't put out enough signs or make enough noise. Yeah, John.
You know what I noticed over the years? You got some. Tell me if you guys have had this. Is you got some customers in your car and you're showing properties and you're driving along and you go, oh wow, like down the street you're not even on. You look down it and you see a sign down there and you go, oh, there's a listing down there. Maybe we should check that out. And the customer says, huh? Where do you see a sign at? And I don't see any sign anywhere. Have you ever had that happen?
They don't see them, yeah.
They don't see them?
Yeah.
So if you put more than 1 on a corner, what's the chances? It doubles on somebody seeing that open house sign.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because
yeah.
We're trained, and you don't think about it. We're trained to see, you're always looking for signs where customers aren't.
Yeah, it's your reticular activating system causes you to see that. So I would even put signs up, like I'd put 1 here, another 1 here, but like away from each other. But when you're driving, it almost looks like a wall, and some people would go, man, this guy's nuts. What a jerk, Why is he taking up the whole corner, And of course I put them where people could still walk by, but put them out there, make some noise. So the other thing And I've been guilty of this, and I told you guys that I've been coached, and my coach tells me I'm too nice. Presidents at one time, a lot of them coming up, they were too friendly. And it's good to be nice. It's good to be friendly as a politician, right? And you guys are local politicians in real estate, but you can't be too friendly. And let me give you an example of this. I went to the booth in Cerritos to see what's really going on there, right? And there was one lady that had a captive audience. She had a couple in front of her. And then I left and came back 30 minutes later. She's still talking to the same people. Now, either she's afraid to close them for an appointment or she was being too friendly. If you're at an open house, you can't sit there and talk to one couple for 30 minutes and let 10 walk by. That's being either too friendly or too nice, or being afraid to close for the appointment. I've always been told that when you have a nosy neighbor that talks a lot, ask them for an appointment. They'll leave immediately. Hey, great. So, it sounds like you want to do something. You want to buy a house or sell a house. Can we meet back at my office, tomorrow at 5 or 6 p.m.? Oh, no, thank you. And they'll end up leaving. But I've been guilty in the beginning of my career that I would sit with that nosy neighbor and watch 10 people go by. And I just, I don't want this old neighbor that doesn't have any friends or visitors. I want to be nice and be too friendly. And so that's not going to get you anywhere if you do that. So number 4 is not giving your team feedback, right? I'll give you an example. I was telling Scott this the other day. I used to have an escrow officer that I worked with for many years, not Castlehead, somebody else. And I had a transaction going there. And then that seller says, hey, I'm buying, the reason I'm selling this house is because I'm going to use the money to buy my brother and sisters out on my dad's house, right? So I'm going to let Benny know. And that escrow officer says, oh, no, you don't need Benny for that. We could just do all that here, right? So I made a mistake by not ever telling my escrow officer. Well, here's what I told her. I never saw her ever again. It was the last time I saw her. But being proactive and being a better person would have been to give her the feedback and say, hey, you know what? You actually cut me out of making a couple bucks for filling out disclosures and preparing the contracts and doing all that. Instead, you did the whole deal by yourself, and I didn't make any money. I made money on my sell, but I never made any money on what could have been, right? So not only that, your TCs, I'll tell you guys, don't tell her this, but Vanessa at Bellflower is one of the best TCs ever. I trained her from day one. I didn't have a TC, and I asked Chuck Barger. I said, Chuck, I need a TC. I'm too busy. I can't do this alone. And he goes, well, Vanessa, would you mind TCing? She goes, I don't know how to do that. I go, don't worry, sweetheart. I'll teach you everything, right? But sometimes she would make certain mistakes, and I would give her the feedback. But if you go around not giving feedback, those people aren't going to grow. They're not going to learn, and eventually you could resent them and end up saying goodbye to that escrow officer without them ever knowing what would happen, right? Or what they did wrong. Number 5 is not delegating. You guys, you got to delegate a lot of your business. Like I said, John's not delegating the drop-offs, right? Because he wants to be seen, right? Persistence, right? But can you delegate putting out open house signs? Yeah, maybe. I mean, I do a portion of them. But at the same time, there's people that slow down. You've had it. Hey, where's the open house? What is it? How much? Oh, okay, you're going to open at noon? Yeah, all right, I'll be there. All right, great. But like your TC, right? I have a lot of you tell me, oh, it's $400, $500. I'd rather save that money and spend quality time with my clients. Well, I'll tell you, one time I called a client and I said, hey, it's 9:45, man. I lost track of time. Can we do this later this week? And he goes, Benny, I don't have any other time later this week. It has to be today. I left his house at midnight, and all we talked about was contracts and a couple real estate stories, because I talk a lot. But he would have never done that to a TC. He would have done 30 minutes with a TC. So what I tell all of you is hire a TC, take your clients to BJ's and really spend quality time with them at happy hour for $50. right? $100, and that's way better quality time. You get to let your hair down, right, John? You get to really relax, have a beer, and really talk about other stuff that they don't want to talk about, right? I mean, do you really want to be talking about real estate at midnight with your client?
You know, Benny, when these came out, when TCs came out, it was in the 90s or so, and there was just a handful. But what I found, with a lot of the agents that I was working with, is they didn't want to let go. They didn't feel like there would be anybody that would get all their papers signed like they would, or get the information out to their clients. And I had bought into my old office, now managing, co-owning, and I didn't have the time anymore. I had to let go. And you know what? After a while, I realized that wasn't the most important thing that I was doing. I found out I had more time spiritually, with family, with clients to follow up, and being places which were way more important than getting paperwork.
High dollar producing activities.
Yeah, and then even like a print and mail service, because I was trying to think what else can you delegate to, is getting somebody a company that would not only print up your flyer, but take it to the post office under bulk and save money. And then I'm spending 5 minutes doing that, and there's something going out on my behalf. And so it's kind of takes a little bit to get used to. And I know there was some, Ludi that used to work here, was with me for a long time, could never let go.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And you kind of got to. At some point, you having 1 or 2 deals a year, maybe not so much, but you start getting a deal a month or every other month. It's still spending time with clients and your family and having more time for yourself is really a nice thing.
Yeah.
And it costs too much. And it's like, come on, what's the average check now? Commission check?
15,000.
15, 18.
Yeah.
And they charge $450. That's like a no-brainer.
You guys, just to close on the delegating part, a friend of mine I was talking to last week, he was an agent that used to work with Bruce and was pretty close to Bruce, did a lot of flips with him. He said he was in Bruce's office one day and he goes, "Bruce, teach me how to make $1 million." And he goes, "You want to make $1 million?" He goes, "Yeah. Learn how to delegate." That's it. Learn how to delegate. So, all right. So those are the pitfalls. These are the things to implement to have success. Number 1, have faith in your abilities. Chris Reeve at the beginning of the meeting, his quote, right? "We have many more abilities and resources than we know of. I suggest you don't break your neck to find out about them." There's so many things that you're capable and able of. Yesterday I had my coaching call with my coach, and he goes, be thankful for your hearing. Be thankful that you're able to speak. Be thankful that you're able to walk. Be thankful that you're able to run. He goes, be thankful that you're able to drive. And he goes, "What are you getting from this?" I go, "Crap, I'm blessed." He goes, "Yes, you are." He goes, "Why aren't you putting your blessings in action? Right? You're so able. Why aren't you, doing more than you can?" Right? So have faith in your abilities. Number 2.
There's one more thing on that I can I've got 47 years full time in this business, and I'm looking back and I realize that you get a listing out of your efforts farming, and that's a good thing, you like it and make money. And then like a couple days ago, I went through Winter Park, and I'd been there like a couple weeks earlier, and there was somebody in there, this guy's in his 90s, and there's somebody in there painting, and looked like carpeting was out in the driveway and stuff, and he had called me, he talks to me all the time. I'd shown him condos out by his son, towards Diamond Bar, somewhere out there. And I come by a couple days ago, and there's a Supra lockbox on the front door, no sign.
Ooh.
And so here's the thing: that's not the first time that's happened to me over the years, right? But you tend to dwell on that one negative that, well, why didn't they call me? And then you start challenging your abilities to,
Yeah.
am I doing things right? You're like, wait a minute, come on, you've been doing this too long
Yeah.
to know. It'd be like telemarketing. It's like, come on, somebody challenged you or put you down. You don't stop there. And the saying is, I have rejection for breakfast. Sometimes I have it for lunch. But you got thick skin, and that's what we're going to get. There's always more no's, and you have to be strong and positive about your abilities, that you're doing good and you're doing the right things. And you're trying to help people, right? And move on. Because
John, I think Feng and Nancy would tell you every listing's got a buddy, sometimes two, and now what? Sometimes three. Is that correct? Possibly. Yes. Right. So what I'm referring to, guys, they had a listing. They did so well in a senior building that somebody noticed, called them on an interview for a second listing. Then somebody else just recently called them for a third, possibly.
Yeah, that
So,
one was still working on it.
so John, you never know. On that street, you got another buddy.
you can't give up.
Yeah.
And you have to trust your abilities. That's
Yeah.
all I'm saying is.
Be proactive, you guys. You got to be proactive, so you got to take action. Anthony, I commend you for showing up, man. Every opportunity call day that we've had, you've been there. Even he doesn't have a dialer, he's calling by hand. And I told him, you know what's going to be great when you close your first sale out of making these calls, and then you have the budget to be able to put a dialer in place. I mean, how rewarding, you know, when he goes from that to that, you know, and makes it that much more easier and reaches that many more people. Just being proactive. And you know, it's easy for me to drive to Downey and come back 5 minutes to my house from there. And you guys have to drive back, what, 20, 30 minutes. But they've been doing it. I think we had 9 people last time at Downey. And you know, we'll see what we'll get tonight. But be proactive in all that you do. Number 3, stay focused on the task at hand. You guys, it's so easy to hear somebody else doing something around you, and you think they're doing something new that you've never heard of, and really it's something that's been around for years. It's so easy. I remember, short sales. Learn how to do short sales. Okay, here's $300. All right. Hey, become a bank REO agent. Yeah, okay. Next month, learn how to become a probate expert. Get your senior designation. Do this, do that. And the other day, John and I were at our managers meeting, and one of our offices was spotlighted, and they were talking about all the training that they offer. All this training, like 24/7 training. But they're one of the last ranking offices year to date from last year in our company. And we're number 4, right? And it's not me and John, it's you guys, right? But this happens a lot of the time, and John and I we know this for a fact, is a lot of agents will get caught up in becoming the training agent, right? So you go to the gun range and you're just doing this the whole time, but you never pull the trigger. And if you get stuck in that situation, it's terrible. And then the results are there that you become one of the last ranking offices in the company because everybody's just aiming and training and not shooting.
What's funny too is that this company has more training than any company that I'm aware of out there.
Yeah.
And why wasn't he taking advantage of what's already there instead of developing his own thing? It's like you weren't focused on what's most important.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys, it's so easy. Like I'll be doing something at my desk. It's so easy for me to hear somebody else doing something or somebody else doing something and then just easily jump to that. Oh, wait, what are you talking about? Oh, what are you working on? And that's great. I really encourage you to come into the office every day and learn. When I was brand new, hey, Eduardo, what are you working on? Oh, yeah, hey, check this out, blah, blah, blah. Hey, but when you're working on something, you got to stay focused. If you're not focused, you're not going to finish your project and you're not going to make any sales. So stay focused on the task at hand. Number 4, have vision. You guys, this might sound crazy to you, but I look up at the listing board up there and the sales board. And I'm looking at it going, Benny, you have to have like 5 on each one. You need to like lead by example. You know, and some of you guys have come to me before and you go, oh, you say that so easily. Oh man, I wish you could just program me. And gosh, how did you come up with that? You know so much. And I'm like, yeah, well, how come I don't have the numbers up there, right? So you got to begin with the end in mind and have vision. You got to visualize yourself having the transactions, getting the appointment to the listing, going to the listing and taking it, and then living your dreams, right? Because you are producing and making that. So that's one of the biggest things. You know, Abraham Lincoln, what you guys have read it before, where he failed so many times, and then his wife even died, and he kept trying and kept trying and trying and trying, and finally he got elected as president, right? So have persistence, but have vision. I'm sure he had the vision that one day he would make it. And last but not least, to close out, you guys, do what you say you're going to do. And one of my friends many years ago would say, where else does this show up in your life? Right? So if you tell your clients, hey, I'm gonna call you today at 5, and you don't, guess where else it shows up? That date that you're trying to keep with your spouse, that 1 hour a week, you don't show up there. That one day you want to dedicate to hanging out with your kids, you miss there. And it just falls over to other parts of your life, not just your business life, but your personal life. So do what you say you're going to do is a really big one. Keep your promises, because your word, right, is very important. So you know, it's something that to really, I think, and John's going to add to that, but it's something to really internalize. And like my friend Rosanna was saying today, the word of the day is intention. So have the intention to do what you say you're going to do and do it, right? John.
You know what I found, and I put this out when I'm talking to brand new agents, Francis, that just got their license, is the trick to this business is finding something that you don't mind doing or even actually enjoy doing, and that's called a niche. And finding a niche, it's going to put your heart into it, and you're not going to mind doing that. Getting out of bed in the morning, the procrastination, all that stuff drops way down, and it helps you to do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
And the other thing is dropping off some of the stuff that you don't like doing. And we don't have for sale by owners. It doesn't seem like, I don't see them anymore. That was something I really dislike doing, because they're always talking down to you, and they're not going to pay this giant commission, and you don't know what you're doing. I'm smarter than you are. I mean, everything was very negative to me. And I drive around at for sale by owner for 3 times around going, you gotta stop, you know, and my guys on my shoulder thing was like, stop, you need money. No, don't do it, they're gonna talk down to you, you know, and I'm driving around, it's like, oh, I found a niche, which is farming, take massive action in that area, and forget about and now it feels good. I can drive by a for sale by owner and go, I don't have to stop.
Yeah.
I'm doing my thing already. Yeah. So that's how, you know, the procrastination part and being persistent and all that is it comes out of you too when you're talking to people. You say, I hate telemarketing. I can't stand doing that. That's going to come out of your voice when you're talking to people.
Yep.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
There's other things you can do, right? And it's going to be longer in the business when you're having fun with what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
So I said this 2-3 weeks ago on a license plate in the driveway on houses I'm walking up. Do what you like and like what you do.
Yeah.
Pretty simple.
How old is Warren Buffett, you guys? Anybody take a stab at it?
92?
Not, no, it's 90s. It might even be 94, but it could be 92. And if you saw the HBO documentary on him, he goes, I dance to work every day. Right? So let's get to dancing, you guys. Have a great rest of your week.